I got up this morning after a Cincinnati win. Went onto the iBang, going through some of the threads, and saw that Fez was in a monster argument. I'm going to guess well into the night, Fez?
Yeah. I know it was after midnight.
So you put up something...
3 hours worth.
Really?
Yes.
You fought for 3 hours?
Fuck, dude.
You put up something, I guess, from BuzzFeed that had a picture of the gun that was used yesterday in the Navy Yard, and as being the gun that's being used in a lot of mass murders.
Yeah, in the past 7 large-scale mass shootings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like Sandy Hook, Aurora, Colorado, the Joker shootings, and yesterday.
And your point was what?
Ban this gun. There is no reason why this gun should be so accessible to everybody, especially the lunatic from yesterday.
Now, out of all the guns in the world, this is the particular gun you want to ban, and what's the reason? Because I'm not all that familiar with this gun.
This gun is a semi-automatic, and it's the most popular gun. Apparently, it can't stay on the shelves, and anyone can get one, including the monster yesterday.
So you think...
So quit making this thing so readily available to psychos. I want to see it gone altogether.
So you think if this gun was taken off the market, we wouldn't have any more shootings?
I think it would definitely cut down on fatalities.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Fez Whatley way. We have just stopped violence in America.
Thank you.
It's a new day.
Oh, when I get a chance, Fez, after the show, I want to teach you sarcasm. Sometimes I get a little sarcastic. I wish I had had one of those when Shelby was walking to school.
I fired one of these at the gun range down in Tampa. It was fucking great.
How'd you feel, like a real man?
Oh, it was just fun to shoot off a fucking big-ass gun.
Did you, on CBS Sunday Morning, they did a whole story on the Glock, and it was fascinating, because the guy who made the Glock, it wasn't made until like the 1980s, had never designed a gun before, so he came into it with a completely different way of looking at guns, you know what I mean? Because he didn't try to modify the popular weapons at the time. And it's become like the #1 gun in the world. One of the reasons, I thought, because it was the #1 gun in Hollywood movies, that every cool guy in a Hollywood movie would have a Glock. But the guy's very, it's a family-owned business. It's not, I guess, a giant corporation. They just make this one gun, I imagine, and it's like this phenomenal success story. I forget what European country is from. One of the little ones, one of the little tiny ones.
Estonia.
No, bigger than Estonia.
Bavaria?
Fez, do you know where this guy, did he legally purchase the gun? What happened?
There's 2 different stories that they're sorting out. One is that he bought it in Virginia just a couple of days before he went on the rampage. The other story is that he took it off of somebody at the Navy Yard. So they have not determined where he got it yet.
All right, so he could have got it where?
He could have bought it in Virginia or taken it off of someone.
Here's Howard. Howard, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Fez, the situation is the man got out of his car with a shotgun, walked up to the guard shack, blew the guard away, took the guard's gun, which was the rifle, and went in and started killing. So he killed the man. The man didn't get the gun to him. The man died.
Yes, when I said took it off of him, that means he could have taken it off a dead person or a live person.
He was a soldier, Fez. He was a guard at the place.
Yes, and for everyone who says, oh, these weapons protect us, fat lot of good it did yesterday, and this is by trained personnel.
Oh, do you want the military to give up their guns?
That makes no sense.
Well, it would make sense in this position, because if the gun itself belonged to the guard was shot, he's saying, are you telling us that military guards should not have this rifle?
I say get rid of the rifle altogether. No one should have this thing.
So what do they do when they go into war? No guns?
Well, perfect world, no war. But if the military wants to have a rifle, that's one thing.
That's what they did. He was in the military.
Yes, but here's the thing. This gun that everyone says I need for security on the iBang last night isn't very secure, if you ask me.
Right, but let's get back to the premise here. This is a Navy Yard. It has to be guarded, obviously, right?
Yes.
Terrorists and stuff like that. What is wrong with the guard having this gun?
The guard should have the gun.
Well, he did. Everything went perfectly.
Yeah. But it's still being used in a mass killing. That doesn't change the past 7.
Right, but that's not exactly the defensible position that you want to be in. The guy who had the gun should have had the gun. The other guy came up with a shotgun. And by the way, I don't know anyone who doesn't think that we shouldn't have shotguns. Used the shotgun on him at close range. I imagine surprised him. And took the rifle off of him.
That's one theory. The other theory is that he bought it in Virginia.
Here's Ray in North Carolina. How you doing?
How you doing, guys? Good. Listen, man, you were talking about that Glock. I saw that story myself. It's from Austria, is where they
Austria. Thank you.
originally made from. And you also, when they showed how to get 18 rounds off with the Glock, 18 rounds was like 20 seconds, and then if you do it with a 6-shooter, it took like 45 seconds because you had to load it up twice.
Yeah.
So that's why Glock's so popular.
Yeah, and I guess the reason that he was able to do this is because he knew nothing about guns. It's the exact opposite of what you normally think. You would think if you wanted to make a great gun, you would study guns, but he studied other kind of design and then brought those ideas into designing this gun. Here's Keith in Connecticut. You're on the Run and Fez show.
Good afternoon, guys. Fez, I have a couple questions for you. Please don't cut me off yet, Ronnie. Fez, like you always say the semi-automatic, like with the rifle, all handguns are, except for a revolver, is semi-automatic, and you could actually cause a lot more damage with a handgun because you can get further along with the handgun. You could do just as much damage whether it's a rifle or a handgun as far as the magazine goes. That's first. And second, when you're arguing a topic, you're always 110% in one direction. You never leave any room for debate. You want certain rights changed for yourself and other people in the community, but you have to be willing to listen. You can't just demand all the time.
The situation is this gun kills people. People aren't using it to go hunting with. It's using it for fun or for mass slayings. No matter where it comes from, that's what it's being used for. So there's no one can explain to me a reason why this gun is so fucking important to have.
Well, people also use it for protection.
Didn't work yesterday.
No tool.
If that story holds up.
No tool works well all the time. That's like saying you had an alarm at your house and someone shot you through your window. You could yell out, see, alarms don't work. They work, but just, not for 100% of the things that come up. You could actually even be heavily armed and someone could shoot you through your window. You know what I mean? There's all kinds. Nothing is going to keep you 100% safe. Here is Alan. Alan, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, Fez, you spent 3 hours arguing over misinformation last night. The front page of Drudge Report listed a new press release saying an AR-15 wasn't even on site.
I'm going by what the FBI says.
Yeah, they released a new report this morning.
I haven't seen that.
They changed the information that they had.
I'm shocked that Drudge has a report saying something different.
Do you think Drudge made this up, or do you think he's just reporting it? Because I never see him write any of his own articles. I just see him linking. Here's Kimberly. Kimberly, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, guys. Good to talk to you. I spent 20 years in the military. I just retired a couple of years ago, and I was a firearms instructor. I worked as a law enforcement officer, and I can see both sides of the equation. I really do. But I think that we need to concentrate more on these people being able to protect themselves. Not necessarily that we should be banning guns. We should limit who are getting these firearms. I agree with that. But I do think that if we do a better job of protecting the folks who don't have guns at work, things like this wouldn't happen.
Well, give us the limits that you're placing on firearms.
I'm sorry?
What are these limits that you want to place on firearms?
I really think we need to do better background checks on folks. I honestly believe that the system is broken. I think a lot of people are getting through the system and obtaining firearms by means, black market stuff is out there. These folks are going and doing individual purchases without going through the right, the right means to do that. And it's unfortunate, but those guns are getting into the hands of the wrong people.
So who is fighting the fact of registering all these weapons?
The NRA, for one. They don't want to they want to be able to continue things like just being able to gift a gun to somebody without a background check. They don't want to impede on gun show sales. And
I don't agree with that. I mean, it's tough being an instructor and having been a member of the NRA, I understand where everybody's coming from. I don't agree with everybody's politics on either side of the board for any of it. So, I try to be the middle of the road with it and say, yes, people have rights to certain things, but for the greater protection of society, generally people just don't need assault weapons, if you want to call them that. I mean, traditionally, yes, in the military, that's what they were designed for. So it's a tough call there. I could see both sides of the equation. But I think I really do think we need to do a better job of, instead of, faulting the person that was, going in there, he obviously had some kind of mental problems. And in most of these cases, I think that's been a running trend.
Well, I think that you go into any place and start shooting knowing that you're going to be killed at the end of this, you would have a mental problem. If you go into a place, even if you think it's for revenge, but you're shooting people who had nothing to do with this, you're just trying to get a kill count up, that is mental problems. I love watching stuff on fucking TV when people are acting like, we need to do a better job of figuring out who the loonies are and grabbing them. And I'm like, how do you do that? What are you now being said? Anyone who goes to a psychiatrist can't have a gun. Anyone who goes to get help through therapy can't have a gun. If you go to marriage counseling, can you not have a gun? Who are these people that are making these decisions on who's crazy and who's not crazy? If anybody out there is getting any kind of pharmaceutical help, does that mean that they're not fit to use a gun? I always love when they come back and bring up this thing as if we can find out how crazy someone is, because I don't see it. I see a lot of people walking around, some on the edge, but some even living a regular life with a job and a family, who I know have mental problems because they will tell you about their anxiety or their depression and stuff like that. So do we now see those people at risk? I'm watching TV with this yesterday, and right away somebody was on there saying a guy plays video games, first shooter video games, did it pretty consistently. Do we think that people who play video games are mentally fucking challenged? Because there's hundreds of millions of video games out there, but we don't hear of hundreds of millions of fucking mass shootings. I don't think that we ever get to the point where we can discuss this stuff. I think everything should be put on the table, but the finger pointing has got to stop. Mike in New York, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, Ron, big fan. I got a dispute. With that female caller just called in to say about background checks on this guy, because he not only did he have a CCW's concealed carry permit, he passed those checks, but he just was cleared in July for a top security clearance to be able to access that shipyard. So he passed all the background checks, and even background checks on the Adam Lanza. He tried to get a permit. He tried to get a gun on his own, and the background check worked. In that case, he was not allowed to, but he gains access in other ways. These guys are going to do what they got to do any way they can.
Now, and I will totally agree with that, but then why aren't we hearing about mass shootings in so many other countries? Why aren't we at least leading the league at mass shootings? And it always goes back to, what the fuck is wrong with us? What is so different about us that we have so many more mass shootings than countries that are somewhat identical to us in lifestyle? What is it about us that we will snap and do something about this?
And if he passed security clearances, there is something messed up there, because this guy had 2 run-ins with the law over gun incidents. One where he's shooting through the ceiling of his apartment, and he can pass a security clearance? That makes no sense. The guy was getting treated for paranoia and hearing voices, and he passes a security clearance. There's something wrong with the security clearance then, too.
But here's a weird thing here. You suffer from paranoia. You hear noises. Should we have security fucking check you every day? I mean, are you a danger? Do we say that as somebody every time that we find out someone has mental problems, they're a danger? It's tough enough to get people to go to a psychiatrist or a therapist. Most men will not do it because they don't like the stigma. And now we're saying, let's make that stigma even bigger, that anyone who's getting any kind of help at all has to be seen as a danger. 866-RON-0-FEZ. 866-RON-0-FEZ. Here is Andy. Andy, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, Ron, I love you guys. First
Thanks,
of all,
buddy.
I got a lot to say, but I'm going to try to get it out as best I can. From
Okay.
what I understand, this morning they reported on CNN that the AR-15 was not used in this D.C. shooting, and also, again, from what I understand, the AR-15 was not used in Sandy Hook. It was actually just found in the trunk of the car. So it was not used for either one of these things.
It was used at Sandy Hook. The guy had, the kid had 30 round magazines that he used.
All right, but I don't know all the details on these things. I mean, it's hard for me to blame one weapon over another weapon. I think it's I think if either one of these guys wanted to go and do the things that they did, they would use other weapons. My point to you is, I don't think that you would even make the world safer by banning this one weapon, because there's other weapons out there.
No, we would eventually have to try to get guns off the street altogether. Get rid of all of them. This one is a good start. On the iBang last night, I asked, why do you have to have the high magazine round, the high ammo rounds? Mm-hmm. Why is that necessary? The kid at Sandy Hook had 30. They come as big as 100. Why do you need that many rounds? I got told that the 10 size one, that's what they tried to pass in the last gun law thing in Congress. That's too inconvenient. It's a pain in the ass to have to keep reloading that with just a 10-round magazine. I think some inconvenience is worth it to keep someone like the Sandy Hook kid from being able to fire that many shots that quickly before he's taken down. I don't see where that is a big deal.
So you think no matter what the weapon is, you can only fire 10? You think we'd have a safer society then?
I think that would... No, we'd still be gun crazy in this country, but it would be safer, I think, in the sense of casualties that happen in these mass shootings.
Here's something interesting to me. You were in here yesterday, and we were on the air, and we had this stuff on the air. You never mentioned a word about it. What happened to you last night that got you so fired up?
Because I see these things, and I just start staring in disbelief that they happened again.
But why weren't you staring in disbelief yesterday? We were on the air while this was happening. We tried to give Wiki a call. We talked the whole day. You never once brought it up. We were following it along. What happens to you after the show Are you watching a lot of the news?
Yeah, I start to think and I start reading about it.
And that's the
And
part.
details started coming out yesterday afternoon that we didn't have during the show.
But you saw a mass shooting took place. And you had zero feelings about it. Zero. I mean, you did not say, oh, here we go again. Or, like, I would have expected, if you felt this strongly, for you to be saying the things today that you were yesterday. And my point being is, I think you go in, you see all these images and see people doing it, and you get all freaked out and you start to repeat the things in your head that you see the media selling you, and I think it leads to your own anxiety. I don't think that you've got more knowledge about this. I think you got more emotion about it, which you get from your television set.
Yes. I mean, the emotion does build up. It's sick that this happens over and over again in this country.
But you didn't say that yesterday.
No, and I should have.
I think that you were surrounded by people who were treating it as this is something that's happening, not, oh my God, it freaked out. What are we all supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, I think that the fucking news media, and you're alone in your apartment, and you build yourself into a crazy sense of emotion, you almost get to the point where if we did go around reporting people, I would probably have to report you and say, I don't know what happens when he watches his TV, but either the TV should be taken away from him or something.
I wouldn't want me to pass a background check. With the medicine that I'm on and the psychological problems that I've had, I wouldn't want to be able to go pass a background check for a gun.
If that's the situation, should I worry sitting next to you that you're going to grab a letter opener and stab me, or more likely Chris Stanley or Shelby, the girl name in the neck? I mean, if you are a danger, should we sit here and worry that you're not going to take one of these computers and smash us?
No, I wouldn't worry about that.
Why?
Because I think any one of you, with the exception of maybe Shelby, could stop me if I was coming at you with a letter opener.
Well, maybe we're not looking at you at that second. Maybe you just come up behind us and stab us in the back of the neck with this.
That's fucking likely.
Because I think you have to admit that that's the truth. That if I was sitting here with this gun on my lap during the whole show and walking down the hall with it and taking it in the men's room, everybody would be safe because I'm not going to use it on anybody. You don't have to worry. I could have a fucking atomic bomb strapped to my back. I'll be walking around here fucking quietly and safely. And that thing, I'm going to treat it like that egg that they try to tell you was a baby in fucking 10th grade.
Keep it safe.
We admit that a big part of this problem is we seem to have some insane people who have things in their head that this is how you act when things don't go your way. And oddly, I saw some of his family or friends or whatever on TV, and they're like, this is shocking to us because we never saw this coming. We didn't think he would be the type of person to do this. That comes up quite a bit of the time with these kind of people, that no one knew how deep and how troubled they were. Now, let's say if Fez did this.
Yeah.
If they came to me and said, is Fez troubled? I say, oh yeah, he's been troubled for a long time. Did you expect him to go on a shooting rampage? I would say no, I wouldn't. A screaming rampage, yes. But I wouldn't expect him to go on a shooting rampage. I don't know how we're supposed to spot these people and take them off the street before these kind of things happen. And yet, I will agree to the fact that there is something about our society that these things happen. There's something in our society where one of the options is to fucking go on a killing spree. For crazy people.
Yeah.
That option is not off the table. And I don't know how you go around and change that. Here's Megan in PA. You're on the Run and Fez show.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good.
I really feel that if we put resources that we're putting in other countries into our mental health facilities, that we could maybe help some of this. I don't think it would help and solve the mass shootings, but I think it would definitely pinpoint some of these people that really need help and maybe just stop them, not necessarily take their weapons away, but just get them the help and make them feel a little bit calmer, make them feel not so depressed that they hate the world, that they hate everybody. But there's like, a 4-month waiting list to get in to see some psychiatrist. That's ridiculous.
You are completely right about that. Well, a lot of times people will call for help and be told that there's no help available for X amount of time. Or they find out they can see somebody once a month on their plan, and that's not very helpful. But
I'm on a waiting list again for a new one, and I have insurance.
Here's another problem. In the case of, let's say, a long time ago, I realized that whatever was going on with Fez, and this is going now back probably 8 to 10 years ago, that he needed help, and he's probably seen 5 or 6 different therapists / shrinks and regular doctors. And if anyone asked me how much he's improved, I'd have to say 0. That the same problems that he has now happened before. So I don't even know if that the whole psychiatry thing, because I've seen him go off in the wrong direction on drugs to the point where his body was convulsing and he was slapping a fucking table. I've seen him react horribly to drugs. I've seen the talk therapy drag out for years with some people before he finally quits. I don't know if there is some magic pill to help people. I think some people can be helped, sure. But I don't think that we could just go as a society, send that guy to a shrink, and we did everything. This guy's been to a shrink. You know what I mean? This guy went and talked to people. This guy went and did the shooting yesterday. It didn't fucking work for him.
And the thing about mental health, how we need to focus on that, I've known plenty of people that I just seem like, oh, that guy is weird or off, that he should probably talk to somebody, but nobody that I'm thinking, oh, he's capable of going and just starting blasting people. They just paint that broad thing over mental health.
I saw a fucking homeless guy in my neighborhood one time, walking down the street just chucking bottles as he was coming. Just wherever he was going, and you just turned around and you saw bottles crashing. Jeez. And people that were standing out front called the cops, and they came around later and, it was explaining what this guy was doing. And they said, oh, was he wearing this, and this? And everyone's like, yeah. And they said, yeah, this has been going on for years. He gets fucking taken in for a while. And that's it. And really, I thought to myself, when I saw this, all right, a guy chucking bottles walking through a city street, that's a bad thing. But it did dawn on me, what if he had a butcher knife or even a gun? If he decided just to run down the street slashing people, they could not keep this guy full time away. They just couldn't do it. They had to let him out after so much of a time. And he was obviously in need of real fucking help. The kind of help that it looked like he would never get better, to me. I just don't know if we'll ever get to this 100% thing. And the stuff that you're talking about, Fez, the banning and all that. If Congress could not move after Sandy Hook, this thing is going to be forgotten about very, very quickly. You've got yourself into a panic again of something that's not going to change.
Yeah, you know what? There's things like the gay marriage thing that you can see will eventually be legal in 50 states. We've talked about before how the name of that team in Washington, that's eventually going to change. This madness seems to just keep going on and on. And immediately, anyone who talks about making the slightest change gets immediately attacked.
But you even said that the slightest change isn't going to work. You even admit that the thing that you want, this rifle ban, is not going to help any of these problems that we're talking about. Here's Greg, Westchester.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, honestly, it's going to keep happening. I mean, until some politician has like the moral fortitude to stand up and like get rid of at least enforce the gun laws, let alone get rid of them. But I mean, all you have to do is look to Australia. They had one mass shooting at a coastal town probably 5-6 years ago, and within 6 months they removed all the guns from gun owners in Australia.
And the whole country came together on that.
No, it was one politician that stood up that said, "It's enough is enough," and he was voted out of office.
He did not get reelected. That's how mad they were at him. And the difference between him...
He'd still get rid of the guns.
Yeah, the difference between him and even people in this country is, A, I guess he could make that move. But B, he was like, I was happy not to get reelected. Didn't bother me at all. I'm fine with not getting reelected. You're not going to see anybody in this country who doesn't put his reelection plans above everything else.
A similar thing happened in Colorado recently when they passed some gun laws and they were just voted out, but I think they said this is for the greater good as well.
Because, and this you have to get into your head, a majority of the people want guns in this country.
Yeah.
This isn't some kind of crazy thing in this country, the way that you're presenting it, Fez. A majority of people want firearms.
Yeah, and I can't wrap my head around that. After
well, that's
all
one
the
of the
shootings
things.
And all the tragedy and the dead kids.
That's one of the things that you want to wrap your head around for your own mental health. You understand what I'm saying? When a majority of people want something, right? You have to then take a step back and go, if you feel as freaked out as you are, what am I missing? What's the upside? What's the downside? Here's Turtle. Turtle, you're on the Run of Fez show.
Hey, guys, I think that there's two consistencies in every single one of these mass shootings, and I'm going to put this out there that we need to attack this from two ends. Number one, Fez, you're talking about banning guns, but I don't hear any talk of addressing the other end of it, which is the crazy person. You know, you can't have a ban on crazy people, so how do you feel you can have a ban on guns and justify that? If you take guns from people, can you say, well, we're also going to fix the other end of this and put every, person who has mental problems in a hospital? Something else has got to be worked out. It doesn't seem like it's...
Well, let's play with the other side of this. What is wrong with hospitalizing people? Is it the expense?
I think there's a constitutional problem of locking somebody up simply because they're depressed. I don't think you could constitutionally justify that.
What if we just offer it to them? What if we just offer these fucking kinds of things to people? How much of our problems do you think we could slow some of this stuff down if we did something about mental health care in this country where it became pretty easy and affordable to get? The same with the rehab, which, by the way, if you got a crazy fucking crackhead, you're dealing with an insane person. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, is there something when we find out we have a crazy crackhead, is there a place that they can go and get help instead of prison? Is that off the table completely? Is our big problem there money? What if we did say we're going to make mental health a top issue in this country? Maybe it would work, maybe it would not work, but we know this. Crazy people are doing the mass fucking shootings. We know this. Maybe what we could say is, hey, the people that want to fucking buy guns, so much of that money is going to go towards mental health in this country, the way we tax fucking cigarettes, I don't know. I mean, some of these things, there's got to be something out there that takes place. 866 Ron 0 Fez. Here's Jake in Iowa. You're on the Run of Fez show.
Hey, I just wanted to set Fez straight on the AR-15 is used for nothing other than killing people. Here in the Midwest, and I know in the South, it's very popular for varmint hunting, whether it's hogs, bobcats, coyotes, fox, etc. And the 223 cartridge is fairly economical. And then the problem I have if the AR-15 is ever banned, pretty much there's dozens and dozens of manufacturers here in the United States that make them. And what about all those people being out of a job?
Well, I mean, in the same way that you're not going to say, what about all the crack dealers being out of a job? If, you know, before we get into those people being in or out of a job, I would have to say, what are we trying to do as a country? I will tell you this, and this is something that has phenomenally changed in this country. I grew up in a house that always had shotguns in it. Always. My whole life. I also grew up in a house where we didn't lock the fucking door. And I'm not saying it was even a safe neighborhood. But we went to bed at night not with fear. I honestly think a big part of where fear came in this fucking country has been cable news. And I don't, kids used to go out and fucking play, and I can't believe that there's more pedophiles now. And we didn't used to lock our front door, neither did our neighbors, neither did our friends. And I don't remember anyone being like, you know, like I said, we own shotguns and some hunting rifles. But my dad never said, if someone comes into this house, I'm going to fucking cut him in half. You know what I mean? We just didn't think about it. We did not fucking think about it. And me and my friends used to punch the shit out of each other. But we never run home to get a fucking gun if we got our ass beat. You know, we fucking punched each other constantly. But no one thought that an ass whipping was the worst thing in the world. And for some reason, the only revenge was to go back and fucking kill that guy. We actually treated, when I was a young kid, losing a fucking fight pretty much like losing a baseball game or a fucking football game. You know, sometimes you lose.
Talk about.
Yeah, whatever. Fuck them. Here's Bob in Texas. You're on the Run of Fez show.
I read on the internet the best way to kill a centaur is to jab him in the neck.
Here's Jay. You're on the Run of Fez show.
Yeah, how you doing, guys? I just want to talk to Fez about his overreaction and how it's actually helping the NRA's argument. I mean, I'm a lifetime NRA member, and every time something like this happens, everybody is saddened by it. But overreacting by trying to get rid of a certain gun, all you're doing is helping the NRA, Fez. You know, as you know, a mutual group, you know, on both sides of the fence, we need to come up with a solution, and nobody can do that. Until that happens, we're at a standstill. I mean,
I will agree with this, but let me just ask you a question. How many guns do you own?
About 10.
Now, why do you have 10 guns?
Quite honestly, it's a sport, and I enjoy going to the range and shooting them, just like our good friend Anthony does. I mean, I'm not a hunter, neither is Anthony. I like going to the range and shooting, point blank.
Now, so most of the stuff you use it for is sport. How much of it is for protection?
Maybe 2 guns. I keep a handgun in a locked drawer in my bedroom for protection. And then the rest of my guns are in the safe, you know, a fireproof safe.
Now, I also, and I'll just put this out here, and it's just to make conversation. Everybody enjoys sport. But if we were told, hey, if we get rid of tennis and people who play tennis, we will stop mass shootings, I think that we would probably go, we don't need to play fucking tennis.
We could live without Wimbledon.
But seriously, so if it's just the sport point of view, is that a price that you're willing to pay to get rid of mass shootings?
I am absolutely willing to make a sacrifice if there is an end to the means. I mean, or means to the end. I'm sorry. I mean, there's no solution on either table. I mean, I am absolutely for making a sacrifice if it can be proven that it's going to stop these, but there's no proof, Ron.
I will agree, and I will certainly agree with that. So I think that's the place where we start, rather than, and no offense to you, Fez, hysteria, but do we really know what it is to where we really want to go with this? And I don't think we do, despite the fact that we have all these people, because most of the people doing the arguing are at one end of the spectrum or the other. And at some point, cooler heads have to come into this. Most of us don't think it's video games or movies or rap music, but that's certainly worth fucking looking at too. You know what I mean? Is it really something wrong with our psychology in this culture? Are we fucking obsessed with violence at any cost? Again, I'll go back to the other point that I made. Why is it when someone gets beat up now, they feel like they need to kill the person that beat them up? A lot of us is because this bully fucking thing is such a big fucking deal that getting called a name or getting fucking pushed has ruined your life. I don't think that that's true. I also don't know how much safer you are at your house if you've got 6 guns or if you've got fucking 20 guns. We talk about mental illness. Mental illness, to me, seems like the guy who's just fucking strapped as if his house is in the middle of a war zone when he lives in the suburbs. And I think a lot of gun owners will admit that there are gun nuts out there who constantly talk about if the police came here, they're in for a firefight. If the army ever tried, where did that fucking mentality come from? Because that's not a hunter's mentality. And I don't remember hearing people so afraid of their own government when I was a kid. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but that seems to be a modern mental illness where people are just fucking strapped in and talking about black helicopters and this and that.
Well, there's TV shows based around all that.
What the fuck? Where did that come from?
Survivalists and preppers.
The last guy who called here who said that he shoots as a sport, I think he's zero danger. Talking to him for a couple of minutes, I think zero danger to our society. Some people are locked into this fucking thing where they're sure people are going to come. They're talking about it on a constant basis. Somebody comes in here, I'm going to fucking light them up. Just calm the fuck down, dude. You walk past people on the fucking street all the time. You're not in danger. Stop acting like there's constant danger. You're fucking safer in New York City now than any time in its history. I watched these fucking yokels come into town holding iPads up in the air, pointing at the big buildings, and I'm like, no one ever saw that shit come in. People used to take their rings off when they came into this fucking city.
Now they have $1,200 fucking toys they're fucking waving around.
So obviously we are safer than we think. And if your thing, Fez, how much time between these two attacks? What was the last one? Sandy Hook?
The last one, I think, was, I'm trying to remember when it was. I think it was the Portland, Oregon shopping mall, the food court shooting.
Okay.
And I can't remember when that was. I'm sorry.
Was it, you think it was 3 months ago, 6 months ago?
I would say probably 6 months ago.
So here we got millions of fucking guns. Millions. Some people say more guns than people, and we're 6 months in between one of these weird things. So apparently it's not just guns either. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If by what you were saying, when you're at your most hysterical, if it were true, we'd hear 7 to 8 of these things a fucking day. You know what I mean? We're not having that either.
No, but when you compare it to other countries, it's a crazy amount.
There's no doubt about that, but it's also no reason for you to be freaked out and not be able to sleep last night. Because this took place 500 fucking miles from where you live and in a totally different environment. You know what I'm saying? For some reason, you see something that happens that far away and you're freaked out, but you're not freaked out by what happens in Syria. You don't want to remove all the guns from fucking Syria. You want that just to go on as it is. And what I'm trying to say is that this environment is different where you work too. That Navy Yard is probably filled with all kinds of stuff where they need security all the time. Arch, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
You know, I'm surprised that we don't have more of these, that we're that good at stopping these mass shootings as we are, all the ones we don't hear about.
I don't know whether we stop them or they just come up every once in a while. I mean, some of them obviously do get stopped. Somebody is caught by the police, and some of that stuff we, probably is good police work. But it also is not a daily problem, and certainly not more than one part of this country than another. You know what I mean? These pop up pretty far away from each other, but for Fez, it feels like it's in your living room because you're sitting there watching 12 hours of cable news hysteria. Hysteria is the way they deal with this. Here's Peter. Peter, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, how's it going today, guys? All right?
Good.
Hey, listen, Fez, I understand this whole assault rifle thing is scary, but you do realize that out of the 10,000 people that are killed in this country every year by guns, I think it was in 2011, only 323 were killed by what they call assault rifles. That's not just AR-15s, that's all assault weapons in general.
Yeah, we need to take care of all of that with some sort of gun control that sticks, but also, even though the crime rate has been going down, mass shootings are going up. It's happening more and more. And what are they using in these mass shootings? That gun.
But what about like the 500 kids that are killed every year in Chicago by handguns? We don't want to deal with that.
Something needs to be done about that too. I'd like to get all the guns off the streets.
And what about the?
Let's start with this one.
Ultimately, what it's going to take then is repealing the Second Amendment. So you
yes,
just want to.
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right, that's what you want to do.
And
No more Second Amendment.
how do you repeal the Second Amendment? What do you have to do?
It has to go through Congress and the Senate.
No, you need 2/3 of the states to even bring it up. 2/3 of the states. There's no fucking way this thing is going to go back. Too many people want it. This isn't like a Congress could not sit there and do the things that you are talking about. 2/3 of the states would have to say, this is a fucking great idea, let's put it on the table. Before we even start to debate the Second Amendment. That's how come those amendments were set up that way. They wanted it to be something that was so fucking universally agreed upon. That's why we don't have that many of them. And you cannot, Fez, act like the people who live in Montana have the same living conditions as you. You might need that rifle for protection from nature. Now, Shelby could have used something when that pit bull bit him on his scrawny fucking chest.
I don't know. In my mind, there's nothing I could do, really, in that situation. It was bound to happen sooner or later.
You should have had a can of girl's pepper spray.
I think dogs like that.
By the way, I just saw someone kiss Spencer, and I don't know who it was.